All right, we're live. Cruz looks like he's eating a steak. We just had a quick conversation.
Nah,
We just had a
yeah,
quick
definitely,
conversation.
definitely Ian again. So, I mean, obviously, we've been talking about a lot about traveling and fitness and dieting and stuff in between. Stuff that we do and things that we do to like when you're back home and you got some downtime to stay healthy, so that way you can be active and enjoy those adventures. So, I'm actually on a little bit of a new diet routine. Not so much what I'm eating, but when I'm eating it.
Okay.
Which I'm sure anybody out there, like, obviously familiar with intermittent fasting, right, Kuya?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know you are. Um, so I'm going with the real aggressive one. It's the based off of, like, you've heard of the warrior diet before, eating the one big meal and you just have like a tiny little bit throughout the day.
Yeah.
Um, First original book, and they like there's a lot of like poo poo around it, being like, oh, this wasn't scientific, he's not a dietitian, it wasn't scientifically backed, blah blah blah. But it was like one of the big kickoffs for the whole stretch of intermittent fasting.
Mm.
Like prior to that book and his thing, intermittent fasting wasn't a thing. Like intermittent fasting didn't kind of really hit the mainstream until mid to late 2000s and then carrying over until now.
Well, I think part of it
Oh,
had to do with some of the keto stuff. You know, so everyone's
yeah.
everyone's looking for kind of the newest kind of dietary um, routine and things like that.
And we've talked about it before. I hate keto.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
not a big fan.
it's just not. I mean, I know it's worked great for a lot of people, and like, of course, like you restrict down the carbs, you're restricting down the calories. It's a lot tougher to get as many calories if you're not eating that bread and stuff. Of course, you could just be going to you could be overeating almonds and stuff, obviously.
Yeah,
Um, but if you're just doing kind of lean proteins and tons of vegetables, I mean, you just do that core alone, and you're already halfway in the game just because of the stuff that it cuts out of things that you can eat
yeah.
for like an overeating standpoint. But it's just not that carb restrictive and everything. That's just not for me. Um, so I'm going with the 20:4 fasting methodology right now, which is I only get to eat for 4 hours a day. So like the warrior diet, you'd have other little snacks about like, veggies or a little bit of like hard boiled eggs, some cottage cheese throughout the day. Try and keep it to like 5 or 10% of your calories. I'm doing none of it for the 20 hours and just all the meals, all the food that I would normally eat. Healthy, home prepared. We're talking shakes, we're talking oatmeal, hard boiled eggs, almonds. Right, my plate right now is Brussels sprouts, sweet potato, and ground turkey.
Mm.
So it's not I'm just over, eating whatever you want in that 4 hour period. I am still watching what I eat, but yeah, just the 4 hours. So you have that max 20-hour fasted state.
Or it's
So
like
try and reset
water and coffee.
water and coffee. Just and it's water and coffee every day, and then you get all of it in that 20 hours, and then let your body just like completely reset, get that insulin level to change and flatten out. It's supposed to, from the word on the street, it's supposed to help HGH levels, help you actually start naturally producing more HGH, um, because of the fasting and everything. So yeah, that's what I'm on right now. I'm doing it for my initial one is I'm going to do it for the next like 14 days or so, and then kind of reassess where it's done. I actually took some like I'm doing the before and after pictures because you can't really tell sometimes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I did take some before pictures today. Yeah, I know, wicked cheesy, taking shirtless photos in the bathroom, but I did it just for personal. They're not like posted on
They're,
the internet and stuff.
no, they're for scientific research.
Absolutely for scientific research. So that's just a little bit of change up. So this is my last meal of the day, which I got about 12 minutes to technically finish this meal. So we'll be having this right now.
Yeah, well, I think one of the benefits of it, with the whole fasting thing. I think a lot of people get into the habit where like feeling hungry is a bad thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um, one of the first times I've ever encountered the whole fasting or the idea of fasting was actually a Chuck Norris book I read a while back ago, and he talked about feeling hungry. And it's like, oh, when you go to bed, it's it's weird to think that that having a meal, or that you want to go to bed feeling hungry, having nothing in the stomach. Um, the whole fasting thing, I think, does real. I do regular fasting um, throughout the week. I'm not as disciplined about it, but typical day for me is like 1 to 2 meals a day,
Yeah.
typically within a small window. Um,
You're natural just from hanging out with you. You're natural. The way that you just naturally eat is kind of like that. Like you usually don't really, unless you're, there, we're doing something specific or whatever. Like you're usually not really having breakfast.
yeah, it's like I don't even have any breakfast food. I mean, I buy what is it, the egg beaters thing, egg beaters, the eggs in a carton. But otherwise, it's very. I mean, today I had breakfast, but for the most part, I want to say 3/4 of the week, you know, I'm not eating any breakfast. It's typically like a brunch. I always eat between like 11 and 2, like my window of
Mm-hmm.
time. But again, it's one of those things where, and you can correct me on this as well, but so the whole thing about feeling hungry is that for losing weight or using up the stored energy in the body, which is fat, um, when you're not eating or you don't have any food in your stomach, it does a couple things, right? It shrinks the stomach size, and then
Yeah.
also when your body needs the calories, it's going to draw the calories from the stored energy, which is the fat, which
Yep.
is the premise
Exactly.
of what fasting is.
And
Again,
the
I think.
flattening out the long-term fasting, flattening out the insulin levels as well. Um, really helps with the usage and the burning of your actual fat and everything as well.
Mm,
Um, which basically eating, anything at all, really, it spikes up the insulin level. It changes your insulin levels. And you need a nice long window to reset it. On top of the fact that, like, if you go down to like this 4 hour window, this is my first day just doing the 4 hour. I did like a 6 hour window and a 6 hour window over the weekend, just not eating until like 2 or so, just to kind of like prep for, but ate for a little bit longer throughout the day. If you're eating healthy, clean foods and not just like super high calorie junk, you're eating healthy, clean foods, it's actually a little tough to get this much food down in 4 hours.
oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's not, unless you're having like a huge amount of rice or stuff, but if you're having a lot of like veggies and fruits and everything, um, and even just like the oatmeal, a big serving of oatmeals would only be like 300 or 400 calories if you're not eating junk oatmeal. That's a big bowl of oatmeal. Um, it's
Oh yeah.
actually tough to get down enough in just 4 hours. So like just that time constriction alone, like it's super tough to actually overeat. I'd have to be eating like a really calorie dense fatty protein right now, like to put myself over on calories.
Wait, so how many calories are you trying to consume in a day, or in that time
Keeping it in the 1700, under 2000, like in
frame?
the 1700 to 2000 calories or so. More
Okay.
likely, most of my like portioned out meals and everything will end up getting me around 1850 to 1900.
Yeah. You know what the thing is too with the whole fasting, especially if it's only if there's a 4-hour window and then you have 20 hours where you're not eating, it's just coffee and water. A lot of people initially when they first try out the whole fasting thing is it's super difficult. But once you get used to it, it's actually not that bad. And in some regards, I think the only thing that I don't like about it is that because you consume a lot of food in one sitting, you get tired. You get you get sleepy after eating a ton of food. But otherwise, like energy levels, I feel like is pretty good because body's not all the blood is not being bogged down by food that's in the stomach.
So the biggest issue with me right now is not going to be not the holding off and everything. It's the scheduling of actually when I work out.
Mm.
Normally I go at night, which I'm still going to go tonight. In order for this to be more efficient and work out during that fasted state and not after, is I'm going to have to start going in the mornings, which, I mean, we've discussed before, me and you, when I'm not necessarily the biggest friend with the early morning, but I'm going to give it a go tomorrow. Today was a fail. I absolutely just shut that alarm off and went back to bed. So I'll be working out at night. But tomorrow we're going to give it a go again. Try and get over there bright and early around 6 or so.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Yep. But that would be the best time to work out. Do that, start my day. Yeah, there'll probably be about a 6-hour window before I eat after the workout. Yeah, I know your max spike is the first 2 hours after you work out for protein synthesis. I understand that. Guess what? You're still synthesizing protein for like 24 to 48 hours after a workout. So not getting that first protein, boost until for 6 hours instead is not the end of the world.
Well, definitely good luck to the new morning
routine. Yeah. That's really, honestly, this diet, the 4-hour eating window is way easier than that getting up and working out in the morning. That's not, by far, that's the way harder part for me.
Yeah, I give credit to anyone that gets up at like 5 or 6 in the morning. Very religious.
My God.
Like it's just, I've never
person
been
you
like
see
that.
there at 5 a.m. every morning, like whatever you're on, can you just give me some? Because I don't know how you're here. So, but in travel news, good changes. Obviously, we talked about before, like, kind of holding off on stuff with because Pat's been in a little flux with his passport. He finally jumped on the phone, just called him up today, and just waited on hold for like an hour and a half. Like, I'm not getting off this line until I talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So it looks like stuff is squared away, and he happened to catch a guy that was also from Chicago. He lives out in Chicago now. Did a little chit chat with him for a few minutes. The guy was like, "Oh, you know what? Like, I'm gonna bump this up, prioritize it. If everything should go well, we should have this wrapped up and processed by like Thursday, and you should be able to call back and get a tracking number on Thursday."
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
So, yep. So that is huge news as far as like being able to actually look and plan and book stuff.
Well, since you said that, I do have to add this because this was told to me over the course of the weekend. It actually happened Friday, where it was confirmed. So Ecuador has restrictions, not restrictions for people flying in and doing stuff, but they close down, I think, 20 provinces every weekend until May 20th. So there's 20 provinces, which is basically, I want to say it's most of the country. Most of the country.
Yeah. How many? I don't think they have that many provinces are decent size. That's state size. It's
yeah. So apparently, they essentially these provinces are closed. Like you can't drive, you can't go to restaurants. Even the big groceries are closed. Everything's closed. So I spoke with Sophia.
What, on the weekend?
On the weekend. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. That face was exactly the same face that I made when I was talking to Sophia this weekend. I'm like,
plans might be changed.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's I told her that. I go, listen.
I can't. I know May 20th, and they say they're going to lift it, but if they don't lift it, like, I can't book something under those restrictions.
Yeah, and I told her, I go, listen, it's one thing where it's only one weekend, but they're doing this every weekend, so that means anyone who's planning to travel to Ecuador has to take into consideration that you can't do anything on the weekend.
That's
I mean,
yeah.
even for like I was talking about my mother. I go, even my mother's not going to have a good time. She's going to want to go do stuff.
I'm assuming your mom loves to go out to dinner and stuff, and like.
Oh yeah. And so I was explaining to her, I'm like, if you think about this, right? So if my mother's only going for a couple weeks, she, all of us are going to be traveling during the weekend, and we're going to want
If
to
she
do
went
stuff.
for right, if she went for 2 weeks, which would be 3 weekends,
Yeah,
that would be 6 days out of 16.
yeah, doing nothing.
So 40% of your trip, you can't do anything.
Yeah. So I was talking to Sophia, and I was kind of upset about it because of, because there's a lot of unpredictability with going out there and having to wait until May 20th, where the government's going to decide that it's going to be okay. So here's the thing. So like, it's you'll be able to grab a taxi, but there's no buses, and like I said, everything's closed. But you have to have, like, your boarding pass and all that kind of stuff to be able to travel around. I'm like, but there's nothing to do because everything's closed. So, and
Why would I be getting a taxi?
I'm talking like they closed essentially
Friday night.
Yeah, they closed all businesses, everything, except for, water, like water vendors, uh, people that bottle water and stuff like that. And it was like,
But you
man,
said they're closing groceries. Are they closing grocery stores?
they closed the grocery stores. So it was, Sophia was
What the?
yeah. So again, there's no restrictions as far as in the sense of being able to fly in, but there are restrictions on the weekend. So
Well, that's the same thing as like Colombia and whatever, when they were like, oh, well, they're still doing like some curfew in areas. Yeah, like you can fly there. You can come in. Absolutely. Fly on in. You know what? There was a long stretch that you could fly in without a PCR test. Come on in. You just couldn't do anything.
yeah. So I think it makes
Wow.
I think it made sense to be able to bring that up in the video too. But as we were talking about before, the difficulty of trying to make plans, and then like having the plans get squelched in, like, a snap of a
A
finger,
second.
and it's absolutely just crazy.
Puerto Rico, one day to the next, a tweet.
Yep.
Governor tweet.
It's and so in like I said, in that sense, obviously, you guys, everyone can do what they want to do, but I just don't want to, I don't want it to be a bad trip where, you're going to a place and you can't do anything. It's like, it's not conducive, like I said, for anyone that's going to be traveling, right? Because they're not going to want to stay. I mean, I don't, you know, half the time when I'm out there, we're traveling on the weekend, like the whole weekend to places, and we stay out for
Yeah,
the
you're not
weekend.
doing anything on the weekend.
Yeah,
Like all your normal weekend plans of the stuff that you would be doing, excluding like going and visiting family, done.
yeah. So like I said, it's one of those. I wanted to bring it up. It's I talked to her over the weekend about it, and with the part that sucks too. I started contacting, the person that out in Quito, like, oh,
Yeah.
do you still have rooms available and whatnot? And I'm like, oh, can I get your do you know anyone who, who works in the travel industry, so that I can see if I can book flights? And, you know, getting this confirmation on Friday, and reviewing this information over the weekend, I was like, what the heck is going on?
That's, I mean, anybody looking to go out there right now at all is gonna, they're not going.
Yeah, like, what are people supposed to do? You know what I mean? If they're planning on vacation, it's like, oh, so you spend your vacation doing nothing on the weekends, when it's like the weekends are like the prime time, and like
Well,
I said,
they're shutting down buses and stuff.
well, there's a few. Okay, so there's a few things that happened over the course of a couple of weeks. So since the barrel of oil prices have gone up, I haven't checked today what the prices were, but they're in the 60, 65, $70
which is good.
range.
That's all. That's way off of the low of like 34 or whatever it got down to.
Yeah. So in the previous time we were, if anyone who's watched the video, a year ago would know that some, we talk about things that's going on in the economy, and one of the situations that Ecuador was experiencing was that the president about a year and a half ago um, proposed raising the gas prices. So
Yeah.
there was large protests, and they actually had to shut down businesses because people were looting, um,
Yep.
uh, different stores and whatever. This time it's a little different. So the way some of these bus drivers are protesting, completely understandable too, is that so because of the international price of oil is up, what does that do to the gas prices? Now they are subsidized in Ecuador to
Mm-hmm.
some degree, but the bus drivers decided that because they didn't like the gas prices going up, because they're on razor thin margins, decided not to drive the buses. So there was like a week. There was like a week where there was no buses, and the taxi drivers. So there were taxi drivers were out on the road, so they were gouging prices. So if you were paying $2 for a fare, it changed to
4,
$5.
5, 6.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Well, there's no buses. You want to get there or no? Like, oh, you want to get there? Okay, $5.
yeah. So so what ended up happening was, at least from province to province, like the buses that travel far and not the ones that are kind of regional, ended up raising their price. Not a whole bunch. It was like $1 or so. But it was still one of those, like, oh, I mean, when I spoke to Sophia, I was like, oh, just raise the prices, a little bit. It's just, you're gonna have to do that because, I mean, stopping, in my opinion, stopping the economy or stopping the rotation of things happening is not gonna benefit anybody. Since a
No,
lot of
it's not going
people,
to solve anything.
yeah, it's only gonna
The
slow
price
everything
isn't
down.
going to come. The price isn't going to come down.
Yeah, and just not financial advice, but these gas prices or the barrels of oil prices completely inflated. There's no, there's a glut of oil. They're just, because of the slowdown last year, they're making it up by,
They're just not selling it. There's plenty of oil right now.
yeah, they're selling at higher prices to make up for the losses last year. So in my
There's
opinion,
plenty
this
of
is gone.
there's plenty of barrels that have already been pumped because they didn't shut down any of the drilling.
Well, I mean, doing a shutdown for a plant is a pretty costly thing. That's, it's not like,
They didn't shut it down. They kept pumping.
yeah,
And all those extra barrels are just sitting there.
yeah. So they're just restricting the barrels of oil. So unfortunately, it's affecting. So that's another part that's affecting, um, the situation out in Ecuador. So that, a little bit of the travel prices are going to be higher, but I think the biggest issue right now is actually the restrictions, where it's very difficult to predict, like, what, because we have to wait until May 20th, or we have to wait a week before, or if any news gets pushed out, to know, like, what's going to happen.
May 20th is late.
Right, right. Like, I'm already planning. Like, this is already late to buy flights now. I
May
haven't.
20th is real late.
Yeah. So that's my concern. I actually I titled this one "More Uncertainty Traveling" with question marks, two question marks, because
So I mean, obviously you're going back down.
yeah,
It's your
I'm definitely going. Yeah, for
your 2 month stretch going back down. What's the rest of the fam doing then?
I don't know.
What do you got?
I'm planning to meet up with my mother at some point this week, probably midweek, where I
Yeah.
have time. But it's one of those things where, like I said, is she gonna want to go? Is she gonna want to, spend a weekend doing nothing?
I mean, the travel weekend, you travel on the weekend. She's gonna land and everything's gonna be closed.
Yeah, and can't go to restaurants, can't.
What are you even gonna eat?
I know that some places are still doing takeout, but you gotta kind of do it, very, very
Yeah.
discreetly.
Yeah,
Actually,
not.
I'll give it this, right? So Sophia sent me this picture. I should probably just post it online. It's actually pretty funny. So the streets over the weekend, people, her and her friends and stuff were taking pictures of the street in like areas where there's typically a lot of people. And
Yeah, you said Santa Elena's got big like food trucks and everything. Tons of people out eating on the weekend. Everything, right?
oh yeah, this time, dude, nobody on the street except for two people dressed in predator costumes. So, people are making light of the situation, but I just, like I said, it's,
So, what's their reason for the shutdown? COVID? It obviously,
yeah.
right? Do they have a big spike or what's going on?
So here's the thing. Um, More recently, one of the things that the government provided was free um, blood tests for COVID cases. Um,
Okay.
so apparently, the the reports of cases increased. Okay, let me repeat that. The government provided free testing. It was like over a course of a few days. In,
Did
in
like the number of hospitalizations or anything spike up? No.
That's what they're saying. That's what the news is saying, is that there's been a large spike of hospitalizations and deaths and all that. But again, it's one of those. The number of cases have increased after the testing was done. So,
Yeah.
um, so
What episode do you want to reference on this
I don't, okay, that's what the situation is right now. And so again, even Sophia has to work from home a good portion of next few weeks because of the report. And
Yep.
um, like I said, I didn't want to. It was one of those things. I think it was good to just kind of get it out in the public. And then, like I said, I had the conversation over the weekend. It was just, like I said, I got upset. I was like, no, this is not good.
I just not even lying, for like mid-June until like July, for like a month stay. I was going through, I had just found like in Montanita, I'd found two options, one being a tiny house
Yeah.
and another. Both of them were like $600 or $700 a month for the monthly stay to split between the two people, split between me and Pat. And they were both like pretty legit, right in Montanita, like great spots. A couple minutes walk to downtown, couple minutes walk to the beach.
Yeah.
And then for that price, for a monthly stay split,
Oh
I
yeah.
was like,
Oh, you live like a king.
this is too easy. What's going on?
Yeah. So
Okay. Well, that's wow. All right. Well, that one changed that one.
yeah. So again, it's obviously, it's it's you got to make your decision on it. But I knew it was gonna be kind of a difficult thing to talk about. But that's the reality of what's going on right now. Luckily, Sophia lives there, so it's easy for her to transmit information. As far as what's going on, locally, and what's, because there might be certain things on the news that just won't carry over to the U.S. news,
Oh,
whereas
absolutely.
um,
You only
so
get a snippet. Like you gotta have to be like living there and like be there to actually get um the good legit info. Um like
yeah,
how stuff's actually going, no matter what you hear out of the news or like what they list as the actual restrictions, what's actually going on is usually way different, right?
yeah. And one of the questions that popped up, my mother's husband asked me, was like, "Oh, is it safe there?" It's like, honestly, you could go to one of the bad cities out here in the U.S., and I guarantee it's gonna be way more dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Um we already talked about, there's only two countries down in South America where I legit would be taking like extra precautions right now. And despite like the historical notoriety that Colombia got, Colombia is not one of them. it's actually right now the two countries, one I will never go to currently, which is Venezuela.
Mm.
And the other one is actually Brazil.
Yeah,
Like
Brazil
Brazil,
is a wild card.
Brazil, you actually need to know where you're going, know where you're staying and stuff a little bit.
Right,
just the way that things have been going on over there.
So Sofia sent a comment. Saludos chicos, bueno espero de todo corazón que todo mejor pronto acá en Ecuador y así puedan venir a pasar sus vacaciones. Un fuerte abrazo, éxitos y cuídense mucho. So basically, she's excited about us coming there soon. And I might have to say something in Spanish because now I know that she's watching.
Yeah, go ahead.
Un ratito de pasado tiempo en la video, Eric y yo hablamos con las situaciones, tú y yo describir, Sofía, antes, en el fin de semana, sobre las situaciones. Es muy difícil porque de lugares en Ecuador ahorita, con más provincias, es cerrado durante el fin de semana. Y también la posibilidad con tener con vacaciones con Eric o otras personas, posible muy mal. Porque necesita con hacer diferentes actividades cuando llegue. Pero todo depende de las decisiones con Eric y de otras personas. Yo invitar para entrar en Ecuador. Pero es difícil la situación, especialmente todas las personas necesitar, esperan con de noticias antes de 20 de mayo. So, for anyone who's watching who didn't understand that, basically I was describing that Sophia and I were talking over the weekend, and that the travel situation is going to be difficult for people who are trying to plan a trip to Ecuador. Like I said, I would for me, like I said, I have particularly good reason to go back, and I'm not particularly well. It's gonna not be it's not gonna be as fun, obviously, because we can't
No,
go do
it's gonna
stuff on the
screw up some
weekend.
of the weekends because I know you guys love like trying to do little trips on the weekends and different stuff, which kind of stinks. You're not gonna be able to do that for a while, right?
Oh man, like the surfing days. I was telling her before. I was like, hey, most of the time I'd like to go up to the Mananita Olón area so I could do some surfing and
Yeah, we were gonna be up.
Yeah.
We were gonna be up there. Like, yeah, just come up on the weekends, guys, and come visit, and like you guys can surf, do whatever, and like we'll be there, like doing the same. And then like we're gonna go out if you guys want to come out and whatever. So that would have been cool. And jeez, stupid.
Like I said, it's. I mean, how many times have we talked about how difficult it was to make plans, and then all these types of things just keep happening. It's like, what the heck is is you know what it is? Sometimes what it is, I just want the facts, right? We talked about this before. It's like I just want the facts of the situation. I don't need like some sugar coated, very politicized answer to any of this stuff.
Everything.
No. Like I just need is this real? Is this fake? Or and it's tough to parse out who's telling the truth and what's real. Should I should I get medication? Should I not get medication? And that's what it is right now. Is you can't really the same thing with the traveling is that you can't really pin down like any planning, or you can't pin down anything that the only thing that's true is just the restrictions and stuff that's happening, having to just having to adapt to it. The unfortunate aspect about it is we want to go to these places, we want to have a good time. Like I said, I know I'm going to have a good time when I go back for sure.
Yeah, of course.
But people going out there for the first time, I just don't think are going to want to spend their weekends locked up in the house, quarantined. I just don't,
Yeah, that's a tough sell.
So, which is I think part of the reason why Diana, who lives out in Quito, who has a school converted into a house and they have several suites at the place, which I still might plan on doing because Sophia's on vacation. So I'll probably go visit her regardless. But the situation with, um, like I said, doing stuff on the weekends where essentially you're gonna have to come up with an activity at home. Obviously, there's I have video games. I'm not gonna want to do video games for 8 hours, or
No, like, don't get me wrong. I've spent some time playing video games, and I can spend some time playing video games, but it's almost like not as fun when you like just forced me to do it. It's like,
that's actually a really good point. That's actually a really good point.
like, you know what? If I had chosen to stay in and do that this whole weekend, it'd be one thing. But since you told me I can't go anywhere and this is all I have to do, I don't even want to do it anymore.
So
Okay, that's crazy. All right.
again, anyone that's watching the video, have you guys been planning any trips? I know we asked this question a lot, but I think a lot of this is very relevant as far as being able to travel internationally, or at least or trying to go to places like Puerto Rico. Um, I don't know how far this is going to extend out to other countries. If anyone's been following the news, there's been spikes at different places. My heart goes out to people out there in the other countries. Um, but I really want to get a sense of what's going on. Or maybe you do live in these other countries and you might be experiencing some of these things where there's limitations on some of the stuff that you can do. You know, we don't know. We only know what we can find on the internet, obviously, and a lot of this, thankfully, we get from word of mouth about what's going on in the street in these types of places. You know, and it's very unfortunate because um, Ecuador is a beautiful country. There's a lot of amazing places to go to. People there are super nice, and the food is fantastic. And there's things like this, uh, that'll be difficult for people to make that decision or to make those plans to travel to places. So yeah, I mean that was a little bit of a Debbie Downer Monday, but like I said, I'm going there regardless. I got very good reason to go out there. Um, I'm still planning my trips, but for anyone, like I said, I know for Cruz and my mother as well, not really sure if this is going to be something that they're going to want to do. Like I said, if my mother says yeah, she still wants to go, I'm still, I'd be cool, but uh, being stuck in the house, I don't, like I said, I don't have any problems. I don't have any problems, but I think other people an issue, especially if they're on vacation. So,
Hmm.
any thoughts? Anyone out there in regards to
I was
that?
just, yeah, I was just taking a peek at the map about about countries allowing in and different things and everything. And I mean, like, so right now, even still listed from the United States, Ecuador is still being so on this site, covidcontrols.co, the one that I've been going through a
Yep.
lot of times. Vaccination, PCR test, yada yada, COVID PCR test or not, arrival passenger, lockdown in effect. Yep, yep, yep. Shops, tourist attractions are closed. What does it say? Yep, here it is. So you could get the information here. Ecuador 5 days ago, Ecuador announces curfew curbs as COVID again overwhelms hospitals. Ecuador declares state of exception. Nope, just the curfew announces curfews. Yeah, so there is the in 16 of the country's 24 provinces. So
Oh, 16. Okay.
there's 24 provinces, 16 of them. I don't know which they are. Doesn't say in this article.
It's all the major. Let's just put it.
All the major ones, right? Sure, there's a few tiny little mountain provinces where there's almost no people that they're like, sure, do whatever you want. But yeah, so that is new. So I mean, covidcontrols.co is giving you some pretty up-to-date articles still. So you could find it there. Restaurants open, yeah. All right. So I mean, that's a tough one because is the Galapagos on there? Because I'll just go live there for a while. Is that
no? The places are open. All the places are open.
Just not on the weekend.
Just not on the weekend.
I can't do that. I mean, I have the whole weekend off. There's no way. Yeah, I don't even know why I'm debating this.
And that's the thing, right? It's like, so.
I'd rather you have it closed the whole week.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole week. Fine. I'll just work. I'll work and cook at home all week long. Then just open it up at Friday around 7, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's really, I mean, for all we know, it could change, but we still have to wait until May 20th.
May 20th.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you haven't bought your ticket, before then, like right now, I think it's starting to get late,
It is. Well, I was looking at my time flight that I was looking for. I was looking at like that second week mark because I was thinking it would give me a little extra buffer, and I planned to basically, I was planning out to basically hit Ecuador on vacation. So hitting Guayaquil on Saturday, the June, because you were looking at the 5th, right, for your initial like flight or whatever. I was looking at like the 13th or the 12th there.
Mm-hmm.
Flights on JetBlue were actually like pretty cheap that date. They were like over $100 less than the weekend before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like $350 or like $220 one way on that Saturday. Good straight shot flight down too on JetBlue. Real good one, right to Guayaquil.
Okay.
Of course, it stopped in Fort Lauderdale because every single one stops in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Heading to Ecuador. And then I was planning on like I'm landing there basically on vacation for the next like 10, 11 days, basically that week and all the way into the beginning of next week.
Yeah.
Staying in Guayaquil until that Guayaquil flight went directly out to Galapagos, like run around Guayaquil, check it out for a day or so in between. Fly out to the Galapagos, do that, stay there for a good long stretch, come back and then go up to Montanita to the Airbnb for the full stay. Like don't even hit Montanita until after Galapagos.
Yeah.
Just because at that point in this time, for me personally, I wouldn't have had like a vacation with a legit amount of time off at all in, I don't know, 8-9 months or so. So being able to land there, get a feel for the country, go right to the Galapagos, just knowing that I'm flying out on that Saturday, like on vacation, and I don't have to be set up at a point anywhere at all just quite yet. I was like, you know what? That's kind of how I want to do it. I want to go there, hit the Galapagos completely free, have a blast, make my way up to Montanita, have been like in the country for a little bit, get set up there, and then start the next month of stay and then figure it out after. But yeah, no. The 20th, I mean, yeah, that's close.
Well, like I said, it's one of those, ride it out until that time frame, or because part of it too is like I'm waiting a response from one of the travel agents to get some pricing, group pricing. But again, it now there's a little bit of uncertainty with what's going on, because and it's not just like, oh, I can't do stuff on the weekends. Logistically, what happens when everything's closed? You know, like if they say that everything's closed, does that mean that the terminal is closed? Does that mean that um, you can't
What's the extent of close? Because it's seeming like it's pretty closed, but
oh, it was closed.
um,
The pictures I saw,
yeah,
they were closed. So it's again, it's not just like the aspect of, oh, we're not going to do a lot of fun stuff. It's you know
you actually have
yeah
to plan for your weekend because you need ways to actually like feed yourself. It's
yeah
not going to be super readily available,
yeah.
and all a lot of different things like that.
So what I found, right? Um, so when Ecuador originally closed, quarantined the country when I got stuck there, that that maybe and then the U.S. ended up doing the same thing afterwards. I wonder I wonder if the U.S. is going to do the same thing. Like, oh, Ecuador was a little bit ahead in closing down places on the weekend, and all of a sudden, you know, several weeks later, the U.S. did the same thing. So I'm wondering, you know, if something like that's going to happen in the future. It doesn't seem like it, but it's you know considering what the times have been like, uh, starting from last year and then going into this year, anything's possible. You know what I mean?
Oh, geez, yeah,
So that's yeah,
yeah, that is.
that's what's
So I mean,
going
I'm
on.
not gonna just go and like immediately, I'm not immediately gonna book anything else, but I'm gonna start probably checking out other stuff, prepping without booking anything. Um, and then comes down to timing and then prices and what happens, right?
Yeah. Well, for all we know, maybe in the course of the week, maybe a new thing pops up that alleviates that. But it's like I said, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's so unpredictable as far as what happens over the course of a couple of days. Something could pop up tonight or tomorrow.
Oh yeah, yeah. It could change. It can change real quick. We've been lucky so far overall, generally, with the places that we've gone and different things. But um, yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean,
But
the weekend shutdown has got to just be for partying and stuff, right?
I would assume so. But surprisingly, like I said, they closed everything.
Curtis, Colombia. Then they smashed dishes. Coronavirus cases began to climb in Colombia in the beginning of April, prompting officials to impose curfews and weekend lockdowns in the country's largest cities.
Yeah, it's weird, right? No, actually, it's not supposed to be weird because we expect these
No,
types of things to happen. But it's more frustrating than it is anything else because of, like I said, how long have we been talking about you and Pat coming out to Ecuador? How long have
we
we?
thought this. I thought this one was a kind of a lock. I thought it was like because we talked about it, like, you know what, Ecuador seems like they're continuously just progressing forward, moving forward, and they're doing fine. Um, and then all of a sudden, just magically, you can the headlines, like from some of the headlines I saw that were linked onto that COVIDcontrols.co. It was just some doom and gloom, all time record this, all time record that. Like, I don't know if that might be an all time record. It might be an all time record for testing, but maybe not an all time record for these other ones. You just didn't know about it previously, perhaps.
The part that gets me is, why don't we test for the cold? Why don't we test for the regular flu? Why don't we test for all these other things? I mean, if we're testing for one particular bug, shouldn't we just test for all of them all the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Right.
sure. I'm sure.
Definitely. Sure.
I'm sure if we turn every rock, we're just not we're not gonna find the prettiest things underneath. It's
No,
basic,
no, not at all.
but I think it's like I said, it's a bit frustrating. A bit frustrating, extremely frustrating to have to declare something like this. Like I said, because for me, it's a great place. Although I have to say, I have to commend the government for wanting to do what's you know the healthiest and safest, or what they think is going to be beneficial for people. I get the intent. I think that's a good thing. Um, but I think there's definitely a lot more to the the health and wellness part. Besides containing people.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know that one. It's the big red flag. You can see it. You can point at it and say, "Oh well, look, we got these tests. We got this. We got to do this." But there's a lot of other things that are going on that are also extremely important that are not being necessarily weighed. Um, we've talked about it before. People's mental health. Business owners going out. It's oh yeah, well, you can always start a business if you're still alive, right? Well, you can, or you might be so soul crushed that you never ever make a personal recovery and then live the rest of your life in anguish. So, I mean, that also is a route for it as well. Um, so it's not all these things are as easily weighed. So you can always take the good one, and that's good. I mean, obviously, you want to take care of people. You don't want people dying, of course, absolutely. That's crazy, but trying to find that balance after it's been about a year and about 13 months now. Um, yeah, maybe we want to figure that out at some point.
The part that gets me is if these previous measures didn't work before, right? And I'm just kind of
History,
speaking generally,
yeah, yeah, you're
right?
talking about the history doomed to repeat itself. Yeah.
Well, like I said, a lot of the actions that took place last year was supposed to mitigate issues, right?
Yep. And it
And
didn't.
and it didn't.
So then to
So
mitigate it again during a spike, we do the exact same thing.
yeah, and it's is it really solving the issue? You know what I mean? Is and that's I'm not a health professional, but I think I can rationalize a few of these scenarios that are happening, right? Where, like I said, if these actions, people complied, right? People followed because everyone thought it was going to
Yeah,
be the zombie apocalypse,
absolutely.
and now we're here, and it's reportedly getting worse. So I don't understand that.
I don't either, my friend. I really don't. Um, it's a continuous, and it's seen all over. Continuous open, close, open, close, open, close. Like it affects something. I mean, you
Right?
just keep doing the same thing, and it's basically the exact same thing every time.
Yeah. So is it really helping? Is is the result um, of these actions really producing what it's supposed to produce? I'm not really sure. And maybe
I'm no
someone go ahead.
completely. I'm no health expert. My just personal feeling on it is that this is something that just needs to, unfortunately, run through the human population. Is going to do it no matter what. It's going to mosey along and do what it's doing. We've seen it after lockdown open, lockdown open, lockdown open over again. Vaccine rates are going up, but it's still lockdown open, lockdown open. Just seems like maybe perhaps this is something that's going to have to just run through the human population once or twice before it kind of, settles to its continuous life the rest of its existence. It's not based on anything or any fact, just a general feeling about how I feel about it.
I feel the exact same way as far as the scenario goes. And maybe someone will come across our video, in the future or near future, be like, hey, these guys had a good point. Or we were complete fools, and we were blinded by our own ideas. Who knows?
Or my just own wants to be able to head down to Ecuador. I mean, we'll just yeah, absolutely. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that I've been proved a fool about something, so we'll just chalk it up. It's fine. It's no big deal.
Yeah. So that's the situation today. I was really hoping that people would chime in and talk about some of this stuff, because I think it's important. But at the same time, it's like I said, anyone who's going to be traveling out there, they're going to come across this. Maybe this will help them out as far as with if they're planning their trip to different places, and then on top of that, kind of it's historical or we're recording, some of our experiences as we're going through it, even though a lot of it right now has been commentary. But again, if anyone who's followed the show will see, like, some of these things that we were talking about repeated itself in very much the same way, that we often talk about the same type of subject
Yeah.
over a course of time, but the situations themselves even repeat themselves over the course of when time passes.
It's been a very circling past year, though, or so, that's for sure. Yeah, it seems like news coming out as I'm popping around, news coming out of a lot of different places seems to be about the same, honestly. Seeing spikes in cases, Costa Rica spike in cases, Colombia spike, everybody. I popped Spain. One of the coronavirus strains gained ground in Spain. They arrested a man for
Say that again. Coronavirus strain
gained ground in Spain. It's got to be some of the other. Yeah.
That was. I wasn't laughing at that. I was just laughing at the rhyme.
Including its first case of a so-called double mutant. The UK strain mutation, spike protein. The South African and Brazilian strains appear to be gaining ground. Okay. Spanish police arrested a man for spreading the coronavirus to 22 people. That's a tough one to prove.
These headlines. Oh man.
Went to his workplace in the gym while showing 19 symptoms, spreading the virus to 22 people. Arrested on charge of crime of injury. He did not want to go home. The man got coronavirus positive test. Coughed while lowering his end of the next day. The police said after he had gone to a gym and again into work where he had a fever, I'm going to infect you all with the coronavirus. Well, you know what? After reading that, you know what? It does seem like he might have gone a little bit above and beyond to try and spread that one. Maybe they should have a talk with that gentleman, actually.
Excuse me, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you were running around coughing and saying, I'm going to infect you all, and then actually test positive and say, well, I mean, that's a little bit of negligence there, buddy. I don't know if you know that one. Never mind. They don't actually have to prove that one. That's an easy one. That guy.
All right, we're getting close to the hour.
Unfortunate stuff, Phil. Unfortunate stuff.
It's like I said, it's almost like we don't want to get too excited, before a trip or build that excitement. It's just we always, that in itself is like kind of the symptom of what's going on, right? Is that is the idea to be perpetually sad, you know, to not be hopeful and look forward to things, you know?
It's legitimately, it's tough to like. I know. I guess you can be like, you can keep looking forward. It's like, oh, it's going to get better. Oh, it's going to get better. And overall, of course, it has gotten better across the United States. Things are more open. Things are getting better. But for that, like overall global final, like this is the actual end. Kind of seems like a little bit of a unicorn right now. Not gonna lie, it seems like a little bit of a unicorn right now, and it's unfortunate. Hopefully, we can find some balance because I mean, even they say, oh, after you get vaccinated, like you should still make sure you distance, keep away. Huh. Well, why'd I get the vaccination? That just seems a little odd. I'm not sure.
Like
But
where there's actually I saw a headline that there was some MIT people from MIT have a counter argument that social distancing is actually not doing it. So
Mall ears.
I know, right? So again,
It
it's
piques my interest.
like I said, I didn't read the article, but there was an article that came out that the possibility that this whole social distancing thing. I'll type it out right now. Okay, that yeah, it was on this article actually shows up on different news sites. I'm just gonna open up the one for CNBC. And it says the title is MIT researchers say time spent indoors increases risk of the bug at 6 feet or 6 feet in research on challenging social distancing policies. So the news was out there, and even wearing a mask. I'm just kind of skimming through the article. So maybe this will go on the top of a desk of one of the CDC or World Health Organization people, and maybe they'll come across it. I don't know. I can't get too hopeful, right? I got to be perpetually sad.
Yep. Be sad right now drinking my Red Bull.
So that's all we got for this week. Apologize,
Crazy.
people, that that's what we're experiencing right now, but this is live, so when these things pop up, they pop up. Unfortunately,
It happens. Plan, figure out something.
like I said,
I'm going somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm going somewhere.
Yeah, I got the news. It was a slow trickle of news, and then Friday was confirmed that they were closing down on the weekend. So.
All right, that's fine. Stay flexible. Figure it out.
Yeah. For everyone that joined us, thank you guys very much, and take care of yourself. We'll keep you posted. I am definitely going to buy my ticket to go to Ecuador. That's without a doubt.
I'll keep you posted. I mean, I'm not buying right this second, but I still got a little bit of time. If price is still good a little bit later, everything still could be a little close, but maybe we still end up down there and still shoot over to the Galapagos or something. I mean, keep me posted on what your mom's doing. I'm assuming there's a good chance that she cancels. Kind of the plans for that. That's a tough one, but maybe not. Maybe she says whatever.
Yeah, maybe like I said, I'm not really sure as far as what she's going to plan to do, but if she is or if